Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Joe Show. I'm your host, Joseph Decker, and we're back in action, man. We're typically, with the season going on, we're usually a Sunday. We're usually a Sunday show. We usually go live every Sunday at about 7, 8 o'clock. But with our Next Up Recruits event we had, it kind of bounced the schedule around, made things more difficult to do a show. So I said, let's settle for Thursday. I knew a lot of the guests. This was one of those shows I didn't want to have 10, 15 guests just with it being in the middle of the week, but I had 2 to 3 certain guys I really wanted to talk to and get highlighted, and we were able to get all three of them on here. So it's going to be perfect today. Jonathan Moss will be joining us a little later in the show to get things going, but we'll be joined by Jeriah Brown and Jake Feldhouse today. We got a lot of things to talk about, but it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a really fun show. I have a lot of topics to hit on. The topics below says top teams, rising players, players of the week. We'll give our player of the week out today during the show, but we got a lot of special things I want to hit on. The top 10 in the state has been a lot more difficult to make than it has been recently because we've seen so many teams lose. And we've seen so many good teams lose to bad teams. We've seen so many bad teams upset a good team. And when I say bad, it's still hard to – I don't feel like with the talent pool we have in Kentucky, there's really many bad teams at all. But there's definitely been some upsets that's happening that kind of surprise and shock people. We knew Louisville Moore was a really good team and could compete at times and, beat those good teams, but sometimes lose to a team that was questionable. But they got a great win last night against Louisville Male, who has Cole Edelin finally returned, Cole Edelin finally back. And, they were still able to pull off that win. I know Cole's still limited, still not playing to 100%. But, it's still a good win on the side of Moore, especially going up against freshman Jordan Mitchell, Jason Gassaway, Kashawn Jordan. That team's still super good. It's a loss that I'm sure Mel will definitely put behind them and kind of move on from quickly, but it's a really good win for Moore. And if you're Moore, you got to be excited for pulling off that win. But like I said, the Region 6, 7, even talking about the 8s, it's difficult in Louisville, and every game is a crazy game. There's no real home court advantages, it feels like at times. There's no real guarantee you're going to win. So we know that's the type of things to happen. We can talk about Region 11 today on the show. We'll have a lot of things to hit on. Great Crossing, Frederick Douglass, Madison Central, Bryan Station. The list goes on and on. It's a super, super tough region. I like what's going on in the 13th region right now with the Laurels and then Harlan County. Harlan County starting to edge and be my favorite right now, especially after recently seeing North Laurel. Still know what they can do as a team 100%. We still know how good Reese Davidson is, but I've seen them struggle and have their bad moments. But I'm still going to kind of edge Harlan County toward my favorite in that region. I really love Maddox Huff and what that team has to offer. Those guys are experienced. They made it last season, so it's really going to be hard to pick a favorite over them. But once district and region play kind of comes along, it's a whole different ball game. And, like I said, it's a whole different ball game. So you get those guys in there who has made it, who's had to go through it, who's fought the adversity, and you always kind of favor them. But we could see a new face move in and take the spot. You never know. I want to thank everyone for tuning in here early. I know it's a little bit of a weird show, 8 o'clock Eastern in Louisville, 7 o'clock more toward me down here in Bowling Green. So, and on a Thursday night, I know a lot of people have games. A lot of people's playing right now. So there were some people that we weren't able to get a hold of just for that reason. Let's talk about our sponsors. First up is B Spring Lumber. That is Wendy and Kelly Wood out of Bee Spring, Kentucky. Next up is Charity Hall Bingo in Louisville, Kentucky. That is Troy Devers. Next up is Pelican Snowball, Salem and Salem Lockhart and Bowling Green, Glasgow, multiple surrounding areas and places down here near the 3rd, 4th region. Barron Family Farms, that's grass-fed beef cows. Barron Family Farms, Brad Barron, a longtime supporter and great friend of mine, more in the 4th region, Warren East area. Grable Funeral Home, another longtime show sponsor, funeral home in Edmonson County, Kentucky. That's Roy Grable. CNA Plumbing, that's Adam Coates out of Edmonson County as well, more toward the 3rd region for some of our viewers, in different areas tonight. Exact Homes is Scotty Hawkins in Grayson County, Kentucky. And last is our show sponsor, Detman Law Injury Lawyer out of the north, out of more Louisville, Kentucky areas. And Detman Lawyer always sponsors our top 10 teams and sponsors our player of the week. So I want to thank Detman Lawyer and Injury Firm for sponsor today's show and being our great show sponsor. A lot of people already tuning into the show early here today. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We'll have our first guest, Jeriah Brown, on here in a few minutes. But one thing I want to talk about today is we'll really be hitting on top 10 teams, sleeper teams, teams on the rise right now. Like I said, we don't have the typical 10 to 15 guest lineup. So today I'm going to do a lot more of the talking and for those that like a more laid back conversational type podcast. Today will be better for you all, but I definitely want to kind of get it going and get things popping off here in a minute. Is we're going to add Dry Brown onto the show right now. We're going to get Dry on here to talk about, Du Bois season, how he's playing. The recruiting process hasn't been slow for Dry. He's already took multiple visits. He holds an Eastern Kentucky University offer. Despite being a sophomore, he's without a doubt one of the top sophomores in the state of Kentucky, and to a lot of people like me, the top point guard in that class. So it's going to be a lot of fun things to talk about. They got a big game coming up against Moore, who we talked about. So, Dry Brown, welcome to the show, man. Glad to have you on.
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Dry, it's been a while since I've got to see you in action, about December, man, honestly, so I've not been able to keep up too much with Du Bois in person, but I know myself, I'm looking in, kind of from behind the scenes, watching you guys, getting some updates on how you're performing, things like that. But right now, you guys are coming off a win against Western. You guys got into a little bit of a battle against Oldham County. So right now, in your last 3 games, you guys are 2-1. So I know there's got to be some positive vibes right now, kind of in the locker room. But kind of tell me about this Moore game coming up. And you see them beat Mel yesterday, which is definitely an impressive win. So how do you guys feel kind of going into that game?
We feel like if we get this win by defensive rebounding and just matching their energy, it's a very aggressive team. And I think the main goal is just to match the energy like we did Western game. We matched the energy and we came up with a dub. So I believe we can come up with a dub Moore game too.
Of course. That's a big thing. Rebounding, especially in the 7th region, it's as physical as it gets. Let's talk about the current season so far. Dry, I know the win-loss record might not be as pretty as some other teams, but, talk to me a little bit about the district and region as a whole. What's some things that you, as a player, as a team, what do you guys really want to improve on before we get to that district and region?
I think some things we can improve on is really defensive rebounding. We've been struggling a little lately, crashing, but I think if we sum it up and end up getting better and better, it just takes practice. That's all. Playing defense, I really think we're just a defensive team, and when we decide to play defense, it leads to different results that we like. And also just making shots in general, make open shots, swing it, making open shots, it'll be good for us.
Yeah, and I know Coach Alexander probably isn't too excited with the 63% from the free throw line, but, continue to make shots go in, continue to hustle, continue to play. I know you hit on defensive rebounds. You guys are averaging about 30 as a team, which is good when you look around. But like you kind of said, there's always room for improvement, getting better. Dry, so far on the season, you're having a great year so far. 25.5 points, 4.3 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals. I know you're a humble guy. You're not going to kind of, talk too much on yourself. You want to get the teammates involved. But how do you feel about your season so far? Are you happy at the spot you're in? Like I said, your recent last 3 games has been extremely efficient. Is efficiency something you want to keep working on and boosting those numbers up? What is it?
Sir, it's really just efficiency and also just getting the win. I'm a winner. I love winning. Lately, maybe we just haven't been winning games, but we've been playing our hearts out. It really shows, like, throughout the seasons. We had an up and down, but we've been playing our hearts out, and it shows on the court.
Yeah. I've always been a big fan of Kenyon Sykes. I think he's, kind of almost a double-double, threat every night, a 10-and-10 type player. But one guy who really got on my radar, and I think he got on a lot of other people's radars, and he's a sophomore like you, is Kyle Ogletree. I called him Khalil for the longest, but he kind of informed me as Kyle. But kind of talk to me about Ogletree and what he brings to this team. I know he's probably the best scorer on that team outside of yourself. So what does he kind of bring to this team, and what kind of makes y'all's duo on the backcourt
I think
so special?
What's so good about it is if one person isn't having a good game or the best game, somebody else is gonna pick up. And I think my back buddy is like Kale Ogletree. He's a combo guard. He makes shots. He makes shots. We've been going roughly, but I still believe him with everything I got in me. If I swing it, I already have the automatic go that he's gonna make a shot. He's gonna get his teammates open, hitting with the kick, and I just think, like, if I'm getting double teamed, I go to the corner, I know he's gonna make a play for himself. Or for his teammates.
Of course, and I liked getting to see Ogletree's game, and both of you guys have went on a few visits, got things going, and that's another thing I want to hit on is the recruiting process. To see a sophomore with an EKU offer already getting respected and getting these offers at the D1 level is definitely great, because a lot of these guys are obviously still working hard, trying to get noticed, things like that. But we'll talk about the recruiting process so far. Like I said, you hold the EKU offer, But, it's not really quieted down since then. You've had a lot of visits. You've been having other coaches talk to you. Tell me about some of the visits you've been on and some of the coaches kind of talking to you right now because, you can balance the season, but I know the recruiting process is still obviously heating up, especially getting more and more closer to AAU
Yes,
season.
sir. My recruit process is the visits I've been on are Murray State, Indiana State, and also Marshall. My fault. The good games. I mean, it's been very good games while I've been going there. They're all competitive, and I love the coaches. I love the atmosphere and the way the fans also come to their games and support their players. The upcoming visit right now I got is Miami, Ohio, Saturday. I'm ready. I'm really ready for that. Yes, sir.
I got a lot of friends who's also, kind of your grade level to grade above us, but on the Miami, Ohio visits, the coaches are a lot of fun. So that'll definitely be a fun one. I know the Indiana State visit had to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of history in Indiana State, especially when you probably see the Larry Bird statue. I know it's got to be dope being at Indiana State. It's a fun spot. Dry, I know the decision might not fully be made. I know a lot of guys are just now kind of picking where they want to play this spring and this summer, kind of on the AAU circuit, AAU realm. But Dry, do you know where you'll be playing AAU at this summer, spring, or are you still kind of
right now, I'm focusing on basketball, high school wise, and I'll be looking forward and making my decision after basketball. So I'm just focused on basketball right now. I'm in basketball, high school wise.
Of course, and the AAU season will be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. We know Gerard can play at just about any level, any spot he wants to. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. We talked about a few guys like Kyle Ogletree, but there's some other guys I want to hit on. I always love to show love to the other teammates and people surrounding you. Tell me a little bit about Du Bois and some of the other guys on this team and what makes you special.
Du Bois is just really like a friendship type of thing outside of basketball. If you need some friends or something, like it's just people take basketball as in like a job or something. They make me feel like I actually got friends around. And I think some other people are like Javian Scrub. He's a defensive guy. Whenever we need to stop, he's there. Defensive rebound, offensive rebound, whatever you need, he's gonna get it. And that's why I put my trust in on defense. Is he gonna get our intensity up? So like if we're lacking on defense, he'll get in the huddle. Come on, y'all, let's get it. Let's play defense. Let's go. And also Ken Sykes. Ken, like you said, he's a dog on the boards. That's why I love him. He's a dog. And we also work hard after the game. Like if we go work out or something, I always have Kel on my side to work out, or Javian or Ken. It's just like we're just like a group, and we love each other. We stick together everywhere.
Of course, and Drew, one thing I didn't really kind of see you before, but I want to talk about this a little bit. It kind of come to my mind is Du Bois plays in the 7th region, which is like everybody knows is the toughest region in Kentucky. And I don't think it's really that close. Louisville Male, Ballard, DuPont Manual, St. X are just some of the top teams you speak on, and you never count out a team like Trinity. And Cal has the guys, and even our lower teams, like the teams more toward the lower, toward the middle, we talk about, and they're still good. One thing, like even the St. X coaches and players has told me, you go into the games as the favorites, but you're never really the favorite because there can always be an upset. There can always be something happen. Dry. The thing that's different from you, though, is that a lot of the top players and top respected guys in the 7th region are seniors, older guys. They've dealt with this for 4 years. You're a younger guy. You're a sophomore. You're already facing the adversity and the challenges young. How have you been able to do it? Because it's physical. You're playing against older guys. What do you think has kind of helped you be able to dominate, have good games despite playing older age and stronger talent?
I just come in with a mentality that I just am the best player on the court every time I step on the court. And I think that helps me out mentally. So I'm not worried about who has more exposure or the dude that's offered ranked over me. I just get on the court just to kill. That's all.
Of course. Well, Gerard, it's been fun getting to talk to you today, man. We spoke on the recruitment process a little bit. We've shown some love to the boys. Really glad having you on here. We've talked about your, recent season. I know these last 3 games has been big time for you. You've been playing out of your mind recently, and I know you kind of plan to continue to bring that, these rest few games. You guys have Mill, Atherton, Moore, Beth Haven, some fun games coming up. You guys will end the season with Fairdale. Talk to me about those final games, before you guys kind of go into district play. How do you feel going into them? And you want to finish strong. You guys kind of maybe able to win them out?
Yes, sir. I think about the Fairdale, Mill, and also the games we got rest. I think if we just play hard and, like I said, match the intensity on defense, we can possibly win the game and get us a dub.
Well, Dry, I appreciate having you on tonight, man. We got to talk about the recruiting process, your big time games you're going on right now, and we kind of hinted at the Du Bois team and the recent schedule coming up. Dry, is there anything you want to leave off for the Lion fans watching tonight, man?
No, sir. I'm good.
All right, Dry, I appreciate you hopping on, man. You
Yes,
have
sir.
a good
You
rest
too.
of your
Thank
night.
you.
Of course. Dry Brown comes onto the show tonight to speak to us a little bit about everything Du Bois and how he's been playing recently. Dry's been one of the top sophomores in the state of Kentucky, without a doubt. We talked about his numbers with 26 a game, 4.5 assists, 4 boards. And one thing about Dry is he always brings a defensive intensity, averaging 2 steals right now. The season's been fun for Du Bois despite some of the rough spots and some of the losing streaks. You know, they sit at 8-14 right now, but I do expect that number to continue to rise in a positive way. I think they're one of those teams that's going to get better coming into the district and region play. But they're a younger team. They're led by sophomores, and one of their top scorers and players as well as an 8th grader. So, you know, that's a team that's going to be fun to continue to see in the future. I really like what they have going on there and what Coach Alexander does, though. But our next guest has been on the show before. He's a fan favorite to many. He's one of my favorite guys to have on the show. His name's Jake Feldhouse. He's honestly been one of those guys whose name has blew up and gained the most attention this season. A lot of us were familiar with him going into the year, but just to see how he's playing, I don't think a lot of us could have predicted it. And you know, I know he's super humble and a great guy to talk to it about, but tonight we'll kind of get him to talk about the good season he's having a little bit. He just picked up another recent offer, so at the Division I level, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Everybody, let's welcome in Jake Feldhouse onto the show. Jake, what's up, man?
How are you
doing? I'm doing good. It feels like you were just on here the other day, and quite literally, I think it's been about 2 weeks since we had you on, but well, let's get straight into it, man. Talk to me a little bit. We came in last week, a week or two ago, and you had the Tennessee Tech and the Jacksonville offer, but you just added another great offer and one that's not too far from you in EKU. Kind of tell me about that process, how you got the offer, and, you know, excited you are, because you got to be a little excited picking up a school that's maybe 5 minutes from where you play high school.
Well, I kind of had heard, I kind of knew that they're coming to one of my games within last week. I thought it was going to be the Trinity, and that would have been a really good game for them to come to. And I knew that Jaden Johnson was ranked number 1 in the class, and I really thought that would have been a good game to show him what I was made of, really. And sad they didn't get to go to that game. Played really well. We got a really good team win over Trinity, but then we followed it with a pretty bad and heartbreaking loss to Henry Clay. That I think it was the 2 nights after that. Just didn't find hard at the end of the game. We were leading going into the fourth quarter. I think it might have been by 10 points, and just kind of threw it away within going down that fourth quarter. Really, the thing that teams have been throwing at us is zone, and we have yet to figure it out, and we have to figure that out before postseason, gain some confidence within zone, get our perimeters out there, making shots, and that's just something that I think we're going to have to find as a team, and just really gain confidence going against the zone, because until we learn how to defeat a zone, we're going to see a zone for the rest of the season. And really, that's what coach has been talking about for the last 2 weeks is, I mean, if you're a coach and you're coaching against us, and he was like, yeah, that's exactly what I'd play y'all as zone, because you guys cannot beat it. And I think it's really just a mindset right now. And we really have to find a positive mindset and going against the zone. And hopefully we can do that in these next couple games. And we've got some two big ones coming up at the end of the season after Collins. I think will be good.
Of course, you got to say, you know, we pick up that third offer. You're coming off multiple big games. You got to really show yourself against Trinity, which we kind of knew was going to be a fun game, you know, matchup between 2 of the top juniors in the state of Kentucky, 2 of the top players alone. And then you would be able to battle Reese Davidson, another one of the top guys not too long ago. So you guys have really been playing that strong competition. We've seen you all beat great teams, beat good teams, and then battle some even greater teams. You guys have played the George Roger Clark, the Frederick Douglasses. Now you guys are coming off a game against North Laurel. So you guys have, you know, played just about the toughest schedule out there, it feels like. But I think it kind of gets you ready for that 11th region. And, you know, Jake, I want to hear from a player's point of view just how good this 11th region is. You've got to play almost all the teams so far. And, you know, why is this the strongest and best region, you know, in Kentucky?
I think it is the strongest region in Kentucky, just because of how energetic the games are. It's not like a go down, see who can score the most points. It's almost like whenever you have a region game, it's so gritty, and you're battling for the loose balls, seeing who can rebound the best. And it's just not about how many points you're going to score. It's how hard you're going to play. And the teams within the 11th region, just you got to go outplay each other. And if you're not there to outwork, then you're not going to win. You like playing in the 11th region, you can't show up and not be ready. And I think we saw that against Frederick Douglass. We had we didn't have too much preparation, which we knew that going into the game, but we had to go play our hardest, which we played really hard, and I think we did pretty good without not having a lot of prep, and we actually had a lot of mistakes within that game. So playing them as close as what we did, and then me fouling out with 2 minutes to go, it hurt us a lot. And I realized we've been talking about it. And before the Frederick Douglass game, there's these stupid fouls that I'd make, and I'd take myself out of the game, which really, really hurts my team. And I can't make those fouls in order for us to succeed. And really, after that game, I've kind of learned about defensive positioning and how I don't think I've had more than 3 fouls since a game like that, and just really being there for my team. And Henry Clay's one of those games where we just didn't show up with our hard work and energy, and that showed in the last fourth quarter and overtime, and we got beat. I think it's by 6 or 7, and we weren't getting those rebounds. They're just outworking us and gained momentum, and we weren't there to show up.
Yeah, and you talked about that Douglass game. Really not a lot of preparation. I think that was your guys' 4th game in the last week. So definitely one of those harder ones to prep for. But Jake, I know you're pumped about how the season's going so far. You guys said it, according to RPI, which sometimes you can take it, leave it. You guys said it 4th in this region. But we kind of talk about how good the region is. 14 teams have won over double digits, and then you have a team like Lafayette, which has 9 wins, so you can kind of put them in there. And then to see a team like Scott County, which can't compete, still only having a 5-16 record, this region's tough, and it's kind of like anybody can beat anybody any given night. So it kind of shows to show how good the talent is, how good this team is, and it'll be kind of in that 4th spot, top 3 ranked team in a way. It's got to be a good feeling for you all. Jake, right now, 23.5 points, 11.5 rebounds. You love the statistics, but what's some things that you kind of plan on improving on to finish out this season? Is it, shooting percentages? Is it, higher intangibles, things like that? Is it maybe even just like you mentioned, picking up less sloppy fouls? What are some things you kind of want to improve on before we get to that March type of season?
Really, really just not making fouls. And I found myself in a lot of games of losing confidence at the line. I see myself, I get to the line a lot. I like to attack the basket. And the game, Henry Clay, I think I was 14 from 15 for the line. And once I'm making my free throws, I'm good. But I can get in myself and beat myself down whenever I'm not making my free throws, which that's one thing I have to work on going into the postseason is making free throws. I mean, those are free points. You're at the line, you got to make those. Those are crucial. I mean, coming down to crunch time at the end of the game, those free throws really matter. And I think that's one thing that I need to do is just make those free throws.
Well, the schedule doesn't really slow down at all, Jake. I mean, we talk about the hard games you guys have already played, but I think we talked about it just before we hopped on here. You guys will finish y'all's last 2 games of the season with probably 2 of the hardest ones in the state. You guys will go against South Laurel, who right now is kind of the favorite in the 13th region, and then you'll play Covington Catholic out of the 9th region, which is competed against every elite top team so far in the state, just like you all, and they've even beat some of them like you all as well. So it'll be a really fun matchup. I know Coach Feldhouse loves to play Covington Catholic because of the environment, things like that, but tell me about finishing this schedule off. You guys got a game at Collins Tuesday, and then you guys kind of just keep sniffing and getting closer to that district region play. Tell us about the district that you all play in, because I know some people might not be familiar with it. How hard is it going to be, not alone win a game, but, maybe come out of that region as the winners?
For district, we have Model and Berea, which we don't play in the regular season. But I think the ones – that really has kind of gotten to us is Madison Southern, and we've kind of played them close in the 2 games that we've played them this season. I really think it's just them having a different level of confidence and competing with us, since it's a kind of crosstown rivalry. We've seen games where they've gotten beaten by teams that we've killed, and it's just something about that game that I think we're going to have to – we can't give them confidence early on in the game, and it's just one of those games we're just going to have to outwork and make our shots and don't make stupid turnovers and just be solid all around and kind of put that game away early and just not giving giving them hope.
Of course, when you go into a rivalry game, it's almost like neither team is better. Records are kind of thrown away, top players are thrown away. It's just a straight dogfight. And to see, Madison Southern, like you said, just, not too far down the road in your guys' district, that'll be a lot of fun. But, definitely once you get out of that district now, you compete in region, I think everybody kind of says that every coach who gets on here, it's a whole different ball game. The favorites are kind of put away. Anybody can win any game. So it's a lot of fun. Jake, every week here on the show, I kind of told you a little bit beforehand, every week here on the show, we give away a player of the week brought to you by Detman Law Injury Lawyer. And, Jake, there's a lot of strong competitors for it, but, I had to give it to Jake Feldhouse this week. And it wasn't just not just picking up the EKU offer, but it was also the record. You guys went 2-1 last week, and you averaged 30 and 10 a game on 60% shooting. Kind of first game that calculated was the Trinity game, and then Henry Clay, and then the big win against Evangel. So, Jake, I wanted to kind of get you on here to speak about that a little bit, giving you that award, which we do every week. So, but Jake, I've really appreciated having you on here again, man. I've had you now twice in 2 weeks, it feels like. So you're starting to become a pretty common guest. Jake, is there anything you want to leave off for the Madison Central fans tuning in?
Thank you guys for all the support, and hope you guys continue to support us going into the toughest part of the season and this postseason. Thank you guys.
Well, Jake, I appreciate you hopping on, man. And by the way it looks, we'll have you on here again soon. So, Jake, I thank you for hopping on, man. Of course. Jake Feldhouse comes on to the show for the second time in about 2 weeks, but this time we presented him with our Detman Law Player of the Week. And, he had a really successful week in his 3 games. They went 2-1. They got in a hard-fought battle with Henry Clay, like we said, but he averaged 30 points a game, 10.5 rebounds on 60% efficiency. So it's definitely one thing that you got to say, man, this guy was great. He's a double-double threat every night, but he doesn't just do 10 and 10. He does 30 and 10. And the way Jake Feldhouse performed against a name like a Jaden Johnson, against Trinity, against Julius Edmonds, battled 2 of the better players in the state of Kentucky, and was still able to put up those numbers. Ben Mukadi at Evangel Christian, another top great interior defensive force, battling down there with Jake. So definitely going up against some strong competition, great players at his position. Kind of made me think, this guy's not just putting up against great numbers against anybody. It's a great top guy. So I think that was another real big reason I gave him that, and just the all-around performances. But right now, one thing I want to do is I kind of want to shift the show in another type of way. We always used to do this. We'd start off with guests and then slide it over. And now we'll kind of go more into a second portion of the show where it's kind of just me who does the talkings. We kind of lay back, kind of chill out a little bit more, kind of slow down the high speed energy, which the podcast typically brings. But, this week I feel like a lot of upsets, a lot of things happened in KHSAA basketball that a lot of us didn't expect. I talked about one, for example, before the show, kind of at the start of the show. Nobody really felt Moore would take down. Nobody really thought Moore would beat Male last night, especially with Cole making his return. Cole still getting to 100%, still fighting, so not going to hold too much against him. But, even going into that game, you kind of felt Mel was the favorite. You really wanted them to win that game. So it kind of just shows right now that anybody can win on any given night. It's always going to be a battle. So that's one thing we always have to take into account. I know, especially in the district and region play, we've had coaches come on time and time again and talk about how, even Tim Hayward talked about it. He said those district, even Coach Unseld at Warren Central spoke on it. You got those 6 region/district games. And those are really all the ones that matter, but you still want to battle. You still want to fight, get a good team understanding for yourself. And like Coach Hayworth even said, it's just the regular season. It's about learning. So you can't hold it against people too much. It's a weird part of the season right now in Kentucky. And I'll kind of tell you why that. One thing that's weird about us in Kentucky right now is the fact that a lot of sickness is going around. Guys are fatigued. Guys are catching these illnesses. So a lot of games are being canceled. Things are kind of slowing down. And it's weird. But, we got some games getting canceled. Some games will have to be made up. So that's kind of headlining things right now. But there's also been a lot of talk, which happened earlier today, hosted by my great friend Steve Q up in the Lexington area. And it's caught a lot of people by surprise. A lot of people's interested in continuing to reading about it. But I'll go ahead and quote this from Steve Q on Twitter today. He said, breaking news for KHSAA athletes. A bill has been introduced to the Kentucky legislature to allow every high school student athlete one transfer in their high school career with immediate eligibility. And what kind of makes this crazy is we have seen guys transfer. We still have guys right now who's transferred, who's still in the process of getting cleared. For instance, Caden Reed was just cleared about a week and a half ago to finally start playing for Montgomery County. And I know a lot of people has had different opinions on the transfer portal. It shouldn't be at the high school level. Kids shouldn't be able to just go where they want to go. Kids shouldn't be able to follow a coach, things like that. But put that aside. Let's just talk about this from the outside. It's an interesting bill. I'm not 100% sure if it's passed yet. If this is approved, when will it go into effect? That was a comment that I'd seen. When will this go into effect if approved? So I think that's a good thing to kind of look at right now. We've kind of seen it in college. We continue to see the transfer portal continue to be more overpowered in a way. For instance, guys, as if the coach leaves or is fired, they have so many days to get out of there as fast as they can. And then we see the transfer portal kind of during the offseason. But now we're kind of seeing it get included and worked on and brought into the high school realm. So, and for those that's just seeing it, I'll talk to it again. A bill has been introduced to the Kentucky legislature to allow every high school student athlete one transfer in their high school career with immediate eligibility. So it really does shake the game up more. And I'm interested to see how it's played out, how it kind of works. And a good question that I think kind of popped up and that people had said is a kid plays for, let's use, for example, a kid plays for Louisville Male all season, plays there the whole year. Okay, and then they transfer right before the postseason. Say he goes and joins St. X. Will he be eligible immediately? Will he be able to play right then and there? He kind of switches a jersey the next day. So I think there'll definitely be some precautions and some guidelines that'll have to go into it. So I think that'll be interesting to see kind of how this whole transfer thing works out. But it's big news. It kind of took over Twitter today, especially in the Kentucky scene. Steve Q posted about it, already done 32,000 views, and I know a lot of parents and families are sharing it. And this isn't just a basketball thing. This is all KHSAA sports. So it's really interesting to see from the outside and how this is impacting. Like a lot of people know that watch the show. I'm still 17, a high school kid as well. So with me being in that junior class, a lot of good friends, a lot of close guys around me. Could they be gone? Could they be making other decisions? This makes it easier for them in a way if they want to go somewhere else. So it's interesting to see. It's definitely, a fun thing to see. You can look at the positives and the negatives of it. I'm interested to see, if it's approved, what's the guidelines going to be if it's approved. So definitely a really fun thing to check out. That was introduced today. I think that's one thing people need to check out. It's introduced. It's still not passed yet. But that's definitely something interesting that caught my eye for sure. But another thing I want to kind of get on here and kind of talk about early is we talked about how we're going to talk about some teams today, teams that's standing out, guys that's catching fire. But I want to talk about some of those teams that's catching fire right now. And I feel like kind of getting hot and looking good at the right time. And like you can see on the screen is Cameron McDaniels. Cameron McDaniels, about a week ago, it was announced that he was coming back to J-Town and leaving Huntington Prep. And he's looked great in his first game back, 27 points. Game-winning putback layup to beat Ballard, who was kind of a consensus top 10 team going into that game. And we already knew that J-Town was either top 2, top 3 in that 6th region. One thing I want to point out is the 6th region this season alone has been phenomenal. I think right now it's a common agreement that Louisville Butler is the best team. But PRP, Pleasure Ridge Park, I am not as high on PRP as others. PRP is still a great team. And, even when we talk about the Moore beating Male is kind of an upset, kind of a surprising win in ways. Moore is 14-8 and they're 8-2 in the region. So Moore is still a great team. Fairdale, I've really been a guy who's hyped up Fairdale, but one thing I like about Fairdale is that they have the young talent. They have the young guys. They're just as talented as anybody in the 6th region. It's just, will those guys be able to mold and get things clicking at the right time? Because that's a big thing with the younger people and the younger players is, can Kamari Roberts play mentally like an experienced age veteran point guard and lead that offense when it comes to district or region time? Can Fernandez Wright continue to play elite? Will Michael Ray knock down those shots? Will the older guys, which they don't have many, will those older guys be able to step up, kind of lead this team in a veteran role? And I like Fairdale a lot in the 6th region. I do. But we're always talking about the buddy, the 7th region right there beside them, how great they are. But the 6th region this year is a lot of fun. I like Holy Cross Louisville, despite I know they've took some crazy losses this season, some high-scoring losses, but I like Wade Kramer and Jordan Jackson. Love coach over there, but it's definitely the 6th region. I feel like is still kind of top-heavy in a sense because I think most people right now, if you set them down, they'd say J-Town, PRP, Butler, the contenders. We're still not 100% set on a Moore or a Fairdale, even the Bullet teams, or maybe even Fern Creek, which a lot of people like. So it's going to be fun to see how that region plays out. But a team that I think catching fire at the right time, they've added pieces with Cameron McDaniels coming, is J-Town. And it's going to be hard to pick a team to beat J-Town because they come off a big-time win against Owensboro Catholic at the West Trader Classic. So I like seeing them get that win against Owensboro Catholic. But then they come back and they beat Ballard. Was it a close battle? We kind of knew it would be a close battle. Wins and losses, no matter what they're from, it's a win. It's a win they add to their resume against Ballard. So they win 83-82 off a putback game winner by Cameron McDaniels. And it's fun to see Cameron McDaniels back because I think without a doubt he's a top 10 senior in that class. And, the game quite literally could have been a lot more of a blowout if more shots fell for either team. Both teams missed a lot of shots at times and could have put themselves over. For instance, Cameron McDaniels shot 13 threes on the game and only hit 3. So it was a physical battle, a lot of integrity, a lot of guys going at it, a Louisville little rivalry matchup up there. So tensions were high, but J-Town was able to pull over that win against Ballard 83-82. And that's why I think this team, they were already really good. They were already a really good basketball team. They came into the game 14-5, coming off a big win against Owensboro Catholic. And I know not too long ago, PRP actually took down Jeffersontown by about 17, but I don't think people realize just how big of a difference this makes for Cameron McDaniels with him being on this team. It kind of makes it a whole new team in a sense. Davon Harrison, Prince Complay, those two guys were kind of the best guard duo in that region. Day and Prince playing together, it was already very scary to go against, but teams often put a lot of pressure on just those two guys. But now you add Cameron McDaniels, who plays the 3, can play the 4, 6'5", physical frame, can be focused on as the number 1 at times. It opens up things for Davon and Prince. So it makes their offense and even defense a lot more fun and ways to be manipulated. I think it's a really good add. They got a top 10 kind of top. You could even push for higher, man. You could push for higher how good Cameron McDaniels is. He's a Division I level kid who's got some high interest. So it's a really big pickup for them. And I really like how J-Town looks right now. The 9th region has been, like we kind of all expected, competitive and great. Right now, for me, I feel Cooper is kind of leading. They've beat Covington Catholic. They've beat Lloyd Memorial. They've beat a team like a Louisville Trinity. They've battled Frederick Douglass better than anybody besides maybe Great Crossing, which were able to come out on the win. But the Cooper Jaguars are obviously led by UIC commit Andy Johnson, one of the top players in the state of Kentucky. But I like this team more than just Andy Johnson because they don't necessarily score a lot of points. Andy leads them in scoring with 24 a game. They score 63 as a team. But Roman Combs, another younger sophomore, who's an immediate impact guy for them. He's averaging 11 and 6 a game. They're a good rebounding team. They're averaging 30 rebounds a game. They shoot 73% from the line. They're efficient, 50% as a team, and that's what I like about them. They play physical. They get the job done, and I think for me, they're the leading in the 9th region right now. Cooper's probably my number 1, but with the talent Lloyd Memorial has in their 1 and their B, with their A and their B, and E.J. Walker and Anthony Blacar, and then what Covington Catholic has in their backcourt. With Athens McGillis and then Cash Harney, and Donovan Bradshaw is a guy that's really been rising up my rankings and I've been getting more familiar with. And I like the way the top guys at Covington Catholic shoots the ball. I think they shoot a lot of shots, but I think they shoot pretty solid splits. They both Cash Harney and Athens McGillis shooting 33% from 3. But, I like the guard duo there. I do like what CovCath has to offer. I know they've lost a few games recently, which kind of hurts. They took a 10-point loss to Great Crossing, and then they took a loss to Campbell County by about 20 points. And then coming into their game against Centerville, Dayton, Ohio, which they won, they had lost to before to Trinity and Cooper, both in overtime. So Covington Catholic can battle anybody in the state. It's just about pulling those games out. And they're not going to have to play a Trinity or a Great Crossing in region, in district. So I think those games definitely mold them and make them better teams playing that hard competition. So I like what Covington Catholic has to offer. I like what they bring as a team. But the ninth region's it's open. It's really open, honestly. But third team that's on my teams catching fire, and the teams below we're going to talk about too, but those are just kind of the three that's really been to me is Montgomery County. I'm out of the 10th region. And coming into the show, we just had Tice on last week. We talked about, look who's back. Hayden Reed is finally back for this team. And in his 3 games back, he has been otherworldly great. They win a big game against Fleming County by 7. Caden Reed was phenomenal. 32 points, 12 assists, 9 rebounds as a 5'9", 5'10" point guard. So just another huge game by him. When he's healthy, he's without a doubt one of the, if not two, some will argue the best point guard in the senior class. So it's a really big pickup to have him back. And, it is going to make the 10th region more fun because I think a lot of people's top 3 is Montgomery County, Campbell County, and George Rogers Clark. We've seen him battle George Rogers Clark in triple overtime with Caden Reed back, and then they get the win against Fleming County. But I think George Rogers Clark is still the favorite to win that region, just because George Rogers Clark, they fought a lot of adversity already. They've played great teams. They lost a one-possession game to LaRue County. They lost to Woodford County, and they've lost to Adair County. So their 3 losses are against great, really high standard basketball teams, and but they have some really big wins as well we could talk about. And so far they're 9-0 in region, 6-0 in district. It's going to be hard to beat them for sure. Montgomery County almost did it. I'm interested to see when they match up again. I think Montgomery County can win that game. I really do. But it'll be entertaining to see. It'll be very fun if we get to see them match up again, just because every other time has been, quite the show. I know coming in before that game, Montgomery County had not really stood a chance against against George Rogers Clark. It was about a 25-point loss. But now when you add Caden Reed back, the game's within 2 to 3 possessions. Keep letting him get familiar with it. Let them continue to scout and get familiar with these teams, and it's just going to continue to be battles. So I like Campbell County too, but I like how Montgomery County, which is MoCo, is starting to get going, especially with their veteran point guard back. Davis County and Owensboro Catholic are both listed on here. They got in a battle recently where they went to double overtime, and Owensboro Catholic was able to pull it out in a hard-fought battle at overtime. But what I like Owensboro Catholic. I think they fought and competed against a great J-Town team at a great level. I think they really fought against J-Town. I think J-Town was the better team. Luke Beichman played phenomenal against J-Town. Luke, D1 signee to Eastern Illinois out of Owensboro Catholic, but some of the other guys' shots weren't falling. They weren't getting it going. But, he had 34 points, 34 of their 62. I like what Owensboro Catholic has to offer because when your head coach is Tim Riley and you're led by Luke Beichman, you're always going to be a great team. But I like some of the wins they've been adding to their resume as the season continues to go on. How they played in the All-A tournament, I think, was very impressive. They played a good Beechwood and a good Sayre team. They beat both of them, and then they almost pulled it out against Lyon County. Grayson County, who has been getting hot at the right time, they beat them by 23. So the third region is kind of a lot of fun right now because Butler County will lose to Grayson County by 45. Butler County lost to Grayson County by 45. And then Butler County will turn around and beat the 8th-ranked team of the state in Warren Central and hold Warren Central to 47 points. So it's so wide open, and the regular season sometimes is just so confusing at times. And that's why we really don't know the full story until we get into that district and region play, but we have to look at what we got right now. We have to look at our sample size in these games, and I think Davis and Owensboro Catholic are the favorites right now. I do think, like I said, Grayson County is another team that's getting hot at the right time, and Butler County still got to see those guys get back to 100%. Lawson Rice won't play this season, still waiting when Clayton DeWeese will return, and then we know Ty Price isn't 100% right now. He's been battling illness, but he was able to come back, and they were able to win that game. Briar Griffin has been playing his best basketball recently, so it's fun to see that guard duo get things done in the third region. But like I said, they're coming off a big win against Warren Central, which helps Butler County. But Davis County and Owensboro Catholic are my top 2 favorites right now. Davis County doesn't have a bad loss on their schedule, like I say. Their only losses are to Newport, Taylor County, Louisville Male, and then Owensboro Catholic. I would have liked to see them battle Louisville Male a little more competitively, especially judging Louisville Male was without Cole Edlin at the time. But like I said, I really do like this Davis County team. You can make the argument, and I think a lot of people are kind of debating right now, who is the player of the year in that region? Is it Ty Price at Butler County, who had won it the year prior, or is it Jonathan Moss? Because Jonathan Moss is averaging 20 a game right now on really high efficiency. And I think right now the vote could go either way. I'm not going to give my opinion on it yet, but because those guys are both battling, I seen that when I was leaning Jonathan Moss for the third region player of the year, Ty Price comes back and has a huge game, not necessarily just in the scoring department, but he has a really good game as playing as a leader as well against Warren Central, which landed them a win. They hadn't beat Warren Central in a long time, but Ty was able to score 20 points. The efficiency wasn't beautiful, 7 for 21, but it's still about being the leading scorer and help lead them past a team like Warren Central. So the third region's still open to me. I still think if you catch Grayson County on a wild night where they're not missing a shot like they did against Butler, it's competitive as it gets. But I like those two teams in the third region right now. A month ago, we were talking about, is Bowling Green falling apart? We had heard that Deuce Bailey was not going to play basketball rest of the season. He's back with the team. He's been back for the team. We had heard Deuce had stepped away after coming into the Warren Central game January 17th. We had heard the team wasn't in a good mental state. People were upset. People were mad. People weren't happy with how the coaching was going. But Bowling Green, since that Warren Central loss, hasn't lost. And I think that's something to look at. They're on a 7-game win streak. They just come off a big win against Owensboro where they won by 42. But more importantly, before that, they played a good, very, very good Ashland Blazer team. And, they came out on top. They beat Ashland Blazer by 6 points. So Bowling Green sometimes can hurt watching. They can confuse you. You don't necessarily know how good they are. But then sometimes they can beat a great team like an Ashland Blazer. And I think tomorrow – Warren Central and Bowling Green matches up again. It's at Warren Central. But like I said, it's the fourth region. It's in Bowling Green. Like I said, it's at Warren Central, but it's still in the city of Bowling Green. So home court doesn't mean as much. We've seen Central kind of take them down on the road. But for Warren Central versus Bowling Green, I don't really have a favorite going into that. Warren Central's coming off a loss against Butler County. I don't think they needed. I think they needed that win. I think Warren Central was the better team. And I know things are probably a little more low on the Warren Central side. I know those guys definitely probably aren't as happy or excited, but I really do like what Bowling Green has to offer right now because they're getting hot at the right time. And I'm really impressed with how things are going. Jay Moss just joined me behind the scene. That's Jonathan Moss, who we were just talking about. We're going to finish out this little segment here talking about these surprise teams. Then we'll have Jonathan hop on. But texting him behind. Letting Jonathan know. Jonathan's our third guest tonight, Jonathan Moss from Davis County, to join back. But Bowling Green Warren Central will be a big, big decider tomorrow on who's the better team in that region, I think. I still love Clinton County. I like Clinton County. I really do, man. I like the respect for Clinton County. Going into it, they have the best record in the state of Kentucky besides Marshall County. They're 24-1. I think a lot of us questioned how legit is Clinton County, and we've seen them battle Hazard down there at the All-A Classic. And, it really kind of showed us that both Hazard and Clinton are very legit teams. And, I still think Clinton County, they can win that region. It can be very competitive. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun seeing who pulls that out. I like those three teams in the third region. I still think Warren Central and Bowling Green are both better than Clinton County. But right now, I think Bowling Green's getting hot at the right time. Tomorrow will be a big-time game against Bowling Green, Warren Central. That'll be a big teller on who's the favorite in the fourth region, I think, for a lot. Caverna is another team I'm really high on right now. The record isn't pretty. The record isn't pretty at all. And I think they're actually sitting at around 12-10, 11-10 right now. They're coming off a win against Glasgow by 20 points. But before that, they actually beat a top 25 ranked team in LaRue County at home by 22 points. So I still think when when the heads are on straight, these guys are focused surely just kind of strictly on the game. I know sometimes things can get hot in Caverna. Guys can get upset with each other. Just against LaRue County, there was multiple technical fouls called, but I love Jalen Crane and what he brings to the table. I think he's a great point guard. I like Jalen Crane at times playmaking more than shooting the ball, but the guy's a tough shot maker. He's a great player. He's averaging 21 a game right now. I like how Caverna's getting hot right now in the 5th region. And, they battled Greene County twice in double single digit multiple possession games. Russell Williams is getting looked at by some very good JUCO schools. He's one of the better 2025 seniors. I like Russell Williams. I think inside the mid-range, it's hard to find very many better players than him. And I love the integrity and how physical and how strong and the hustle of the Martin twins. And, I'll just be honest with you, that's a strong 4 to have. But and then I love Maxie as well, his physicality. But I like Caverna, what they have to offer as a team. I like them in the 5th region. They're not necessarily my favorite, but they dethroned LaRue in a home game. So you could debate Caverna's that 2 or 3 seed right now. Are they the best team in the 5th region? Not to me, but do they have the potential when they're playing at their strongest? Yes, they are, because they've had 2 great battles against Greene County, and then now they take down LaRue County. So it'll be fun to see how Caverna kind of finishes out the season. We hint on it every single week. The 5th region is a top 5 region in the state of Kentucky right now. I wouldn't even be opposed if you slid it at 3 behind the 7th and 11th, but maybe the 9th. I think the 5th region versus the 9th region. That'd be a fun all-star game. But the 5th region, I still think the favorite's Greene County and then Adair. But next up is North Oldham. North Oldham had that game against South Oldham, the little Oldham County rivalry, and North Oldham pulled it out. And that's a big game. That's a really big game to win. Going into it, South Oldham was the favorite. South Oldham was the favorite to win that game. South Oldham had been getting a lot of buzz. I think South Oldham once, let me say this, is a top 25 team in the state of Kentucky, but people were continuing to rise them, respect them more. North Oldham was able to come out on top in the rivalry. So it's a good look for North Oldham. I know Gray Schmidl, Austin Sears, Brooks Cargold, Tommy Gregg, those guys are great basketball players. That's a really strong starting 5'6". Colin Daniels, more of a football guy at times, but he's a big, strong, physical athlete who brings a lot to the table for North Oldham. I like them as a team. I like how they shoot the ball. They got a lot of shooters. Their system and style of play is a lot of fun. Austin Sears is one of the most prolific and most efficient and most entertaining to watch freshmen in the state of Kentucky. He leads that team at 16.5 points a game. So I like what North Oldham's doing right now. They're getting hot. I'm not as familiar on the 8th region as I'd like to be. I think a lot of us know Woodford County has the talent to win, especially led by Armello Boone. But Woodford County's 1-3 in the district right now. They're 1-3 in region games, and they sit at 11-8. I know the schedule's been very hard, but I want to see Woodford win a few more games, especially in the district and the region. North Oldham's schedule slides down a little bit. It gets a little easier, but they do finish the season off with St. X, which I think will be a fun game for them to just see where they're kind of at on that level finishing the season. But I think North Oldham and South Oldham are definitely the 2 favorites for the 8th region. North Oldham comes out on top. How much does that sway your opinion? It's up for you to decide. And then DuPont Manual. I think DuPont Manual has had times where they look like the 2nd or 3rd best team in Louisville. And then they've had times where they just struggle, man, and they're not very impressive. They've lost to Bryan Station. They've lost to Frederick Douglass out of the 11th region. And I know a lot of us kind of completely fell off the hype train for DuPont Manual when they lost to Ballard. But I think a problem for us was that we didn't respect Ballard enough. So I still think DuPont Manual is a really, really, really good basketball team that's going to compete in the 7th region. But I think a lot of people were kind of lower on them because of how they lost to Ballard early in the season. When people were saying DuPont Manual was as good as the 4th best team in the state of Kentucky, they took a loss to Trinity. They got manhandled by Trinity. They lost that game by 35 in the LIT. It's not a good look at all. It really isn't. But since that game, those guys have kind of stepped it up. They've not lost since that LIT loss. They took one to Frederick Douglass in this past week at the Ed Step Classic. But I like the 7th region's chances still going to St. X. I still think St. X is the team to beat in the region. I still think they have every right to be the number 1 team in the state of Kentucky. They're my number 1 team. But DuPont Manual, they got to continue to get things going. Guys have to step up in big games like the Trinity game. Nobody really stepped up. They scored 32 as a team, but I still like what DuPont Manual has to offer. I still think they can be one of the top teams in the region, if not the 2nd best team in the region. But they are getting hot right now and looking good at the right times. I want to transition the show back to a little thing before. We have Jonathan Moss in the back ready to hop on. He'll be our last guest for today's show. But Jonathan Moss, we kind of said it right before he actually hopped in here. He's gaining a lot of hype and respect and kind of the favorite to many as the player of the year in the third region. He's having a great season so far, 20 points, about four rebounds and multiple assists, 5-6 assists. So, and one thing that I always talk about Jonathan Moss is his middle name is efficiency at times. The guy shoots so efficient, not just from the free throw line, not just from the three, but the field. He does it all so efficient. And that's really, I think, what could come down to winning him this player of the year in the region. But we still got a few weeks till that's even handed out or talked about. So let's welcome Jonathan Moss onto the show. Jonathan, what's up, man? Can you hear me? We'll make sure everything's good to go on his end. We'll give him a second. But like we said, going into it, Davis County. What's up, Jonathan? Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you, Jonathan. What's up, man? I was talking to the show before you actually hopped on about how you kind of look like one of the favorites, if not the top two favorite to win player of the year. And I know that's got to feel good to you, but right now Davis County looks really good. You guys are 16-4. How do you feel about the team right now, Jonathan, and where you all sit at?
I'm really confident about this team. I think we'll end up getting her up as long as we keep rebounding good, playing defense, and shooting the ball. Well, I feel like we'll get there.
Jonathan, I know you're a humble guy, but the talks have been, talking. People's been talking a little bit. And, to a lot of people, you're the favorite right now to win player of the year. And like I said, you're a 25-5 type of player a game. Your recent performances has been double-doubles, but with 15, 17 points, then, 13 or 15 assists. So your all-around game is shining right now at the right times. I know you like to stay humble, but how much would it mean to you if you were able to win this third region player of the year?
It mean a lot. One of my goals knocked off the list.
I knew it'd definitely be a goal for you. Jonathan, one guy we got to talk about is your counterpart, the guy who plays beside you, De'Aaron Watkins. He's kind of getting things going right now at the right time. He averages 18 and 11 a game. He can be one of the best forces inside. We still want to see him play more physical on the defensive end, but on the offensive end, it's hard to find a more, bigger threat at his position. How comfortable has it been for you playing alongside De'Aaron and how he's been playing right now? I know it's got to take a little bit of a load off your shoulders, not being the only guy focused on.
What you said right there, it brings a lot of attention off of me, helps me score better, get my teammates involved because they can't just focus on me. They got another person to focus on now that he stepped up.
Yeah, we can talk about this whole roster and how guys are stepping up. I know Caden Payne has been a guy who's stepping up. I know Aiden Ayer has been having some big-time performances. And when Jaxo Brown gets it going, he can be one of the most scary guards in the region. So how would you say you feel about where the team sits at right now? How is the locker room? How's the vibes? Are you guys really positive right now? Are you guys feeling like you guys legitimately are the number one team in the region?
Yeah, we definitely feel like the number one team in the region, for sure. The way we've been playing lately, nothing can really bring us down for real.
Jonathan, this Friday, well, actually tomorrow, you guys got a game at Apollo. Sometimes Apollo looks like one of the better teams in the region, and then sometimes they struggle. They're a hard team to judge at times, but how do you feel going into that game? I know Landon Henning is a little bit of an interior presence that can really change the game plan at times. How do you feel going into this one?
All I can think is just to win. I'm not really worried about nobody else for real.
Well, the schedule continues to heat up after that, Jonathan. You guys will play Catholic again, and then you guys will play Grayson County. That's a game I kind of want to hit on, Jonathan. Last season, Grayson County came to Davis and got the win, and I know it shocked a lot of people. A lot of people thought you all were the better team, and they were able to come out. And this season, you guys, Grayson County and Davis, are both getting things going, getting hot at the right times. How do you feel about Grayson County in the region? How do you think they are as a team? What do you kind of see from them? Because in the RPI rankings and right behind you all.
I think it's going to be a good game. I didn't really expect them to be as good as they was this year, but they really shocked me with the Bower County win.
Yeah,
honestly, but yeah, I think it's going to be a tough game.
Oh yeah, of course, and it kind of looks like you all. I know Owensboro Catholic just got the win over you all, but it was a multiple overtime battle. There's a lot of things you can look at from that. But you guys will play again, and I know obviously to win region, you guys got to get by them again. what's some things that happened in that game that you feel like you guys can work on and maybe improve on, despite that overtime loss against Owensboro Catholic?
Our turnovers and just beating their press. That's what bothers us, and we just need to calm down in certain situations.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jonathan, you're playing your best basketball right now you have this season. Things look good for Davis County. I know a lot of fans are watching. What's something you want to say out there to the Panther fans tuning in tonight at 8 o'clock?
Road to Rupp.
Road to Rupp, Jonathan. You guys are pretty confident that you guys will come out of this third region. I'm buying into it as well, man. Right now, you guys look like the favorite to come out. You still got multiple games away, and then we'll kind of get into that district region. It's going to be a lot of fun. Jonathan, I appreciate you coming on here and talking to me, man, tonight. I know I caught you at a weird time, but, things look good in Davis County right now, man. I appreciate you hopping on.
Yes, sir. No problem. Thanks for having me.
Of course. We'll talk to Jonathan again soon without a doubt. And like I said, going into this, he looks like the favorite for player of the year. So it's going to be a lot of fun out of that third region and to see how he continues to play. I think Jonathan's, all-around game is mighty impressive. I say it all the time. He's efficiency. He doesn't have a lot of turnovers, but he's really efficient. Well, let's kind of transition back to what we were hitting on. I'm really glad Jonathan got to hop on tonight. Jonathan's one of my good friends outside of this. He's a great basketball player to a lot of people. Like we've said, we've hinted on it a lot, but he looks like the favorite to win that third region player of the year to many. So I had to kind of have Jonathan come on here and speak to us for a second. We had hit on our teams catching fire. So let's go ahead and talk about our top 10 teams in the state of Kentucky. We can talk about the teams getting right at the right time. We can talk about the teams catching our eyes. Let's talk about the top 10 teams right now. And the list hasn't changed too much. Warren Central falls out. Butler High School is added. And DuPont Manual is added. Not a lot of changes, like I said. The 6, 7, 8 range right there between DCA, Hazard, and Greene County is funny because we've seen Greene County lose to Hazard by one point. We've seen Greene County lose to Hazard by 1 point. Then we've seen Hazard lose to Danville Christian by multiple possessions, 10, 15 points. So it's a really weird kind of thing to judge right there. Greene County, are they a possession or is Greene County better than Hazard? And I think that's a debate you can have. I know in their in-game matchup, you'll say Hazard is better because they came out on top, but I like Greene County still as a team more than Hazard. I like the competition Greene has faced a little more. Let me say that. I think their track record and their overall wins is a little more impressive at times, but I think a lot of people sometimes forget that Hazard has also beat just about every team in Eastern Kentucky that's also elite. They've beat Ashland Blazer. They've beat Harlan County. And they have that win over Clinton and Greene. So it's a weird little – it's hard to judge Hazard because I know we often show a lot of disrespect to the Eastern Kentucky teams that don't show them enough love. But I think Hazard could definitely be higher than what they are. They could be a little lower. It just depends. But I like Hazard as a team. I really do. But let's not get sidetracked. Let's talk about our top 10. St. X at 1. I'm not even going to talk about them. We know how good St. X is. We know how great they are. Are they going to lose an in-state game? The only thing I fear at times is – last year coming out of the LIT, they looked like the best team in the region, and then they lose to Seneca. So will there be another upset happen in the region? You never know, but I think I'm going to ride them out as that number 1 team, and I think everybody would agree. Been a lot of debate on who's number 2, Douglas or Great Crossing. People like to show some hate at Great Crossing for no reason. Sure, they don't utilize Malachi Moreno as well as they should. Sure, they've gotten some battles with teams they shouldn't have. Sure, they lost to St. X by 15 points. I still think St. X is better than Great Crossing, but I do think Great Crossing is the second best team in the state of Kentucky. And I'm going to keep them over Frederick Douglass just because in the matchup, Great Crossing was able to come out on top. But Frederick Douglass right there at number 3, Coach Garvin, he's one of my favorite coaches in the state of Kentucky. I know everybody else loves him. He's got Douglas in the right spot right now. They look like the team to beat in the 11th region at times. Sometimes they look like the best team. Sometimes Great Crossing looks like the best team. But when we look at their head-to-head game, which was only the 3rd game of the season, it looks like the favorite is Great Crossing just because they were able to get that win. Great Crossing, Frederick Douglass, they're toss-ups. They're both the kings of the 11th region right now. But then let's talk about the 4th spot, which is also in the 11th region, Bryan Station. And Bryan Station, like Great Crossing and Frederick Douglass, are in that 11th region. And that's crazy to say that 3 teams in the same region is in the top 4. It's a crazy thing to say. Last year we had St. X, we had Male. Male wasn't as high as a Trinity Louisville team. So, but this year the top three out of the 4 teams are in the same region. It's crazy to say. Frederick Douglass has beat Bryan Station every time they've played this season, but they've all been within 5 points. So it's hard to just sit here and say they're miles and leaps and bounds better than them. This recent game, it was, a 1-point game, So when those teams match up, it's always competitive. I really like Bryan Station still, man. Amari Owens does one thing in this state better than anybody else, and that is attack and get to the rim. And it's hard to say that anybody else can beat them besides maybe the 3 in front of them. And we can confirm Douglass can beat them, but, it's hard to say that there's any team better than them, that's not named St. X, Great Crossing, or Douglass. They're up there in that tier of their own in the top 4. If we had a March Madness bracket, they'd be a 1 seed, is what I'm trying to say. That's something I would like to do. Let's put out a little March Madness bracket with Kentucky teams. Let's do it. But Marshall County slides into my number 5 spot. Marshall County, undefeated. They still are undefeated. And they come out of the first region, and they're undefeated. And the first region is very heavily carried by 2 teams, and that is Marshall County and Callaway County. I do like St. Mary. I do like Mayfield. And I do like Paducah Tillman. I love Miles Woodfork. He's a great point guard out of Western Kentucky. But Marshall County and Callaway County are the best 2 teams in Western Kentucky. And they matched up, and it was all Marshall County. Matthew Lange had 40 points. They dominated. They match up again tomorrow at Marshall County. How will that go? I do think that for a postseason, a district or a region matchup, I do think I would prefer Callaway just because of their age. But Marshall was at Rupp last season. They have the guys. Matthew Lange is one of the best sophomores. So I could very well debunk that with that statement. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see who comes out of that region. Marshall County, like I said, 23-0. They have good wins. They've beat Owensboro Catholic. They've beat South Oldham. They beat Owensboro Catholic twice. They've beat Ballard. They've handled their region. So it's hard to say there's many teams better than Marshall County. They definitely represent that left side of Kentucky, and they're the only remaining undefeated team in Kentucky. And I say this all the time. I like for teams to have a loss because you want to face adversity. You want to face challenges in the regular season. Maybe tomorrow could be that day they lose to Callaway County. I don't know, but it's hard sometimes believing in a team that's not had to encounter a loss. It feels like when they get into the postseason and they play another great team who's been in these moments and has had to struggle with the loss, and it feels like they have a little more to fight for, at times. So how will Marshall County pan out the rest of the season? I don't know. That'll be fun to see. Right now, they look like a top 5 team. They are a top 5 team to me, but it'll be fun to see how they plan out. Danville Christian Academy, not very familiar to a lot of people. A lot of people think the hype is too much, but this team runs a 3-2 hybrid 2-3. Sometimes that's as effective as any defense in the state of Kentucky. They've lost 2 games. They've lost to Woodford County and Ashland Blazer. Woodford County and Ashland Blazer are better than Danville Christian when they're playing at their best, when they're playing their best basketball. But sometimes Ashland Blazer is inconsistent as it gets. Same for Woodford County. So I still think Danville Christian is, this high and this good as a team. Danville Christian holds teams to about 40, 42 points a game. It's hard to find a better defense. They've got good wins. They handled Hazard. They beat Lyon County. And like I said, their record, their resume isn't as good as anybody's ahead of them. You can debate over Marshall County's, but they win games. They're 19-2. They play Bryan Station this Saturday. I think that will be a great game. How does Amari Owens gets to the rim and handles contact better than anybody in the state of Kentucky? How does he match up against the 2 7-footers at the bottom of the 3-2 zone for Christian Academy? That'll be an interesting thing to see. That's a game I'd like to be at. So that'll be a battle. That'll be a fun one. I'm interested to see how that game's go. Behind them is Hazard. Hazard, like we said, they've beat everybody in Eastern Kentucky, but they struggled against Danville Christian. They scored 29 points. They lost to Danville Christian 44-29. Hazard, like I said, they've beat Harlan County. Excuse me. They've beat Ashland. They've beat Breathitt. They've beat those top teams. They got a 1-point win against Greene County. Hazard's also beat Clinton County, who has the second best record in Kentucky. So Hazard is the team that kind of represents Eastern Kentucky right now, especially the 14th region. But it'll be interesting to see Hazard. I was worried about how they would compete against better talent, and they came in here, they played better talent, and they looked pretty good. You know, they beat Madison Central. They beat Madison Central. They beat everybody in Eastern Kentucky. They come over here, they beat Clinton County. They beat Greene County. So it looks like Hazard has kind of proven, you know, these guys are legit. Interested to see how they continue to finish the season off. I say it every time we talk about them. They don't have a really hard schedule finishing out the year, but they've looked good in these games that they have to win. Next up is Greene County. Put away all the things being said on Twitter, the talk. Greene County is an elite basketball team in the state of Kentucky. They are. And they can shoot the basketball. Here's why I like Greene County. They can shoot the basketball, not as efficient as some teams, but I like Tanner Willis. I like Cooper Stone. I like Hayden Blakeman. I like Eric James Jr. Despite not being portrayed as a shooter, Eric shoots, 34% on some higher volumes. I like these guys from the arc, and I really like these guys inside the paint. I like Hayden Blakeman inside the arc. I like Jaden Marr's mid-range game just about as much as anyone else's. I like Modi Kuyate, back to the basket type of guy. I just really like this team's offense, and I like how they run their offense. And I think Coach Gilbert Irvin, I think they know how good of a team they are and how good of a team they have. And I think they run this offense just about as fun as many other teams' offense. They average 73 points a game. They shoot efficiency as a team. They shoot 48% from the field, 35 from three. I'd like to see the free throws numbers go up. I know Coach Gilbert's probably watching, shaking his head yes right now too, but they're physical. They rebound the ball better than anybody. They got 4 guys averaging over 5 rebounds, 2 at about 8. So they're my favorite to come out of the 5th region. I wish we could see that Adair County game in the regular season, but right now it looks like our 5th region championship is going to be Adair in Greene County, and I wish we could watch them play tomorrow. I wish they played tomorrow just because they both look great. They both look like 2 top 10 teams, and it would just be a great matchup that would feed families. It would make people excited. It would really, I've been boosting how good this 5th region is. That would be the game that kind of proves it. But Greene County's an elite basketball team. They are. 4 guys in double digits, Jaden Marr, Cooper Stone, Eric James Jr., and Hayden Blakeman. Modi Kuyate is an 8-8 type of player, but he's just as good as an interior force inside as almost anybody, especially on the defensive end. The recruitment's picking up for those guys. That team has lots of offers. They're experienced. They're well coached. Greene County is a RUP team. They really are, and I like them at 8. Number 9 is Butler, and go back to what I just said. Greene County is a RUP team. Butler is a RUP team. These guys have the experience, but also have the younger guys who make plays. How good would Butler be if Brandon Heath was healthy? Wow, that's a question we need to ask ourselves, because Brandon Heath breaks his leg going into the season, has a real bad leg injury, which was terrifying. I love Brandon Heath. He's one of my favorite players in the state, especially watching him play for Ambition this summer. But it sucks to see that happen to Brandon Heath, because the kid is a beast. He's a true point guard. But, how much better would this team even be if he wasn't hurt? That's a crazy thing to think about. No real bad losses for Louisville Butler. There's not really any bad losses for Louisville Butler at all. They set at 18-3. Their losses are to South Oldham and Greene County. Greene County beating them by 10 points. South Oldham beating them by about 7 points. So, it's not too big of wins, but it's I know it's 2 wins they'd like to have. They lose to South Oldham, but they beat North Oldham. So it's weird. And North Oldham just beat South Oldham. I think the 6th region, my favorite team is still, it depends on, I'll say this, my 6th region favorite is Louisville Butler, but I've got to see how good this J-Town team continues to get, especially with the addition of Cameron McDaniels. And it looks good by dethroning one of the top teams in the 7th region in Ballard. So I love Louisville Butler, what they have to offer. I love Coach Geary, love Coach Otis. I think they're both really, really smart coaches. Henrik Barhalo has really stepped up and caught my eye this season. Coming into the summer, for example, Mike Jones was a guy that really caught my eye. He's having a really good season. The team scores 71 points a game, but it's so well spread out. They got 3 guys averaging double digits: Barhalo, Michael Jones, and Adrian Wilder. Santana Anderson can step up and get you a bucket whenever you need one. He's one of the most shifty players in the state of Kentucky. And then Jeremiah Marshall, who's one of the younger guys on the team. He's a freshman, has been making impacts. He's played 17 games for him. So I like Louisville Butler and what they have to offer a lot. The 10 spot is very toss up. The 10 spot could be Adair County. It could be Davis. It could be an Oldham County team. It could be Ashland Blazer. It could be Bowling Green. It could still be Warren Central. But I'm going to put Manual there for now. Like I said, I really didn't like the Manual loss to Trinity. I really didn't. I can deal with the loss, but not by 35 points. But I do know that Manual sometimes looks like a top 10 team in the state, and then sometimes they look like a bottomer team in the state. But I think they're playing good basketball right now. I think they're kind of getting things going. I think they've kind of put some of those losses behind them, and they're playing their best basketball. I want to see Justice Decker to continue to play better and better against bigger and stronger level competition. I think he had some rough times with Jaden Johnson and Julius Edmonds, but I know how good of a player he can be. They battled Frederick Douglass recently, only lost that game by 8 points. They shot well efficiency, just got in a defensive battle, and just the other team made more shots. I still like Malachi Coleman and Noah Smith in that backcourt. Geoffrey and Jahu is a really fun player. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, but I think he's a fun kind of, definitely an explosive type guy. And Justice Decker is still one of the top, if not the top unsigned senior in the state of Kentucky. So I like what DuPont Manual has to offer. I think they're a team that kind of elevates in the postseason. I kind of said that earlier, but they're probably my number 2 in the 7th region right now. That's saying a lot when the top team is at number 1 in the state of Kentucky. So I like I like DuPont Manual a lot. I think they're going to compete. And like I said, they're a really good team. The 10 spot's up for grabs with a lot of people. But I ended up sliding it out to Manual just because I liked how they battled Frederick Douglass, just how I like how they have dominated some teams up there in their areas. And, they got wins against, North Laurel, Newport, some of the better teams around the state. But like I said, Manual don't really have a bad loss. Their losses are to Bryan Station, New Albany out of Indiana, Frederick Douglass, Trinity, Louisville, and then Ballard. Record-wise, people will say Trinity's a terrible loss, but we know when Trinity is playing good, they're hard to beat. But it's just what version of Trinity are you going to get? And sometimes we don't know that answer. So that's my top 10 teams in the state of Kentucky. We talked about the teams kind of catching fire right now. And now we're going to do something I've not done yet on this show. And we're going to talk about Rupp continues to get closer and closer. And we know how the system works in Kentucky. 16 teams play at Rupp out of the 16 regions. You send one team per region, and I'm going to kind of give my favorites and my best team in each region, who I think will kind of end up being at Rupp right now if it were to end today. And Region 1, Marshall County, I kind of talked about it earlier. I think Callaway is more built for a postseason run, but it's hard to bet against Marshall County. I've got to see Callaway beat them. I've got to see Callaway beat them to dethrone them. But Marshall County is the first region team. Henderson County is in my second region. I kind of go bounce back and forth sometimes between Henderson County or Lyon County. Henderson sits at 7-5. They've beat Lyon County, and they didn't just beat them; they handled them. And then they played in the West Strader Classic, and they got a win against Warren Central, and that's a good win, I think, for Henderson County. I think it's a very good win, actually, to beat Warren Central, to beat Lyon County back-to-back games. That's a really good look on them. But then they'll lose to Madison North Hopkins, which I think that Henderson County needed to win that game. But like I said, I really do like Henderson County as a team. Cooper Davenport is a very, very good, experienced veteran type guard who leads them. Lacan McKinney as well. Elijah Suggs is efficient as anyone in the state. And their young guys are nice. Xavion Johnson is a very good player. Amari Stewart, Jaron Bynum. I like that, they're kind of led by seniors, but they have those young guys who I think can help make a run. I like Henderson County. The second region is not as strong as I'd like it to be. We can't just kind of write Lyon County as the favorite anymore with all the kind of guys that's graduated, but they're my favorite in the second. Henderson County sits at my second. Geez, I almost got lost on words there. Davis County is my third region favorite. Why are they? Because they look the best. They look the best. I don't like the loss to Ocath. And here's the thing. Ocath and Davis County are the two best teams in the third region to me. And they got in a battle, and it was a 2-possession game. Owensboro Catholic won 78-74. It's hard to beat Tim Riley, man. It really is hard to beat Tim Riley. I think let me give my respects. Neil Hayden at Davis County is a really, really, really good basketball coach, but Tim Riley is one of the, if not the best coaches in the state of Kentucky. Definitely, you look at his history, he could be that number one. He's a Mount Rushmore coach out of KHSAA. It's just hard to beat him. It's really hard to beat Tim Riley. And when he's got the talent around him to win, and I think he had it last year but he ran into a dangerous Butler County team that also had the talent, but had better guys. And now that Lawson Rice is out for the season, Ty Price, once we see him 100% healthy, how Butler County continues to run their offense with guys out, I think Catholic is my second best team. And I think Catholic has every right in the world to be right here, but I also think Davis County has every right in the world to be right here. I think Davis County has the better offense. I do like Owensboro Catholic's defense. We could have a show here alone on who's better, Catholic or Davis County, but my gut leans Davis County just because I know how good of a player Jonathan Moss is, how De'Aaron Watkins can make just a few simple changes to how aggressive he plays and how physical he is, and he can be even more of an offensive and defensive specialist. But I like this team a lot. I think Neil Hayden's got them in a great spot. They're confident they're the best team, but it's going to be them or Owensboro Catholic to a lot of people. We're sleeping on Grayson County. I think they're an elite offensive team. Owensboro Catholic beat Grayson County by almost 30 points. Then Grayson County beat Butler by 40 points. So it's a toss-up in the third region at times, but I do think the top two right now is Catholic and Davis. And right now I'm leaning Davis even though Catholic beat them. Warren Central at my 4. I didn't like the loss to Butler County by 15 points, 13. And I didn't like the loss to Henderson County. I didn't. They're battling 2 losses right now. And here's what I think will happen. It will either fill them with the fire and the rage to take down Bowling Green tomorrow, or they'll be at a low point and Bowling Green will come in, who looks hot right now, and Bowling Green will dethrone them as the favorite. I don't think Bowling Green is a better team than Warren Central. I think Warren Central does things better. I think Warren Central roster is more talented. But Bowling Green's got a lot of guys. They got guys who can make plays and they can make things happen, and they're physical. And they got those football guys like a Deuce Bailey who is physical, especially with the opposing team's guards, and it can be a show. So I'm not sure who my favorite is right now to win that region. It would definitely be between them two. Joe Hurt, I love Joe Hurt as a guard. I love Luke Idlet. I think Luke Idlet shoots the ball better than anybody in the state of Kentucky. Numbers point toward that he is the best shooter in Kentucky. But here's the thing. Bowling Green got a huge win against Owensboro where they scored 96 points, but they shot 60% from 3. When Bowling Green's not missing threes, it's going to be hard to beat them, man. It's going to be really, really hard. I like Caden Carpenter on defense a lot. I like some of the younger talents that Bowling Green also has. I'm a big Orlando Davis fan, but a lot of times the team is ran through the seniors, and especially in a game like tomorrow against Central, it will be again. So tomorrow's game, I think, will kind of edge out who's the best team in the fourth region for me. Warren Central has their number right now. They're 1-0 this season, beating them at Bowling Green. So that'll be fun. Going to kind of run through these. We've talked about all these teams, 5, 6, and 7. 3 of the top 10 teams in the state of Kentucky. St. X is the best team in Kentucky. I think the 7th region is all St. X's to win. It's their region to lose. Let me say it like that. They should not lose that region. Butler, it's going to be fun for Butler because I think they're the best team. But let Cameron McDaniels continue to get comfortable with J-Town. They could be the best team because they've got elite. They got the best backcourt in that region in Davon Henderson and Prince Complay. And now you add in your forward, who's a beast in Cameron McDaniels, high-level type Division I type kid. It changes everything. Greene County, I want to see them in a Dare County matchup, but I think Greene County would win right now. I think they would. I think their offense is just kind of too loaded. I think they got too many guys. Sometimes you can play Adair County, and if Connor Lloyd doesn't have a great game, Isaiah Cochran really has to step up and be great for them. So it'll be fun to see. But I do think that 1-2 punch from Adair County is as good as anybody's. But it's going to be fun to see. I want to see those guys play. They don't play in the regular season. So right now, Greene County's got to be my favorite. North Oldham's coming out the 8th. It was North or South. North is coming off the win. So it's weird because we use these standards, out of the 4th region. Owensboro Catholic just beat Davis. I put Davis over him. North Oldham just beat South Oldham, and I put North over him. So it's just weird, But I do think North has played harder talent, harder competition this season. Especially, I think North Oldham has looked better against better teams. And I think when Austin Sears is knocking down shots and the rest of the guys on North Oldham are knocking down their shots because North Oldham runs a super, super fun style of offense, I think they're one of the better teams in the state of Kentucky. I like North Oldham a lot. I really do. I think a lot of it decided. I think South Oldham had a good resume. I think North Oldham had a good resume. I think North Oldham had played some harder teams. I think whoever won that game was my favorite in the 8th, and North won. Talked about it early, kind of at the start of the show, the very first opening minute. 9th region is disgusting this year. It's great. And that's one of the positive disgustings. I mean, it is strong. Dixie Heights, Newport, Connor, Covcath, Lloyd Memorial, Cooper. I mean, it's a super, super strong region. Cooper's the best team, though, for me. And why? Because they have beat Lloyd Memorial. They have beat Covington Catholic. And they beat both the best teams. And I've got to put them over them. Yes, they've been close games, but they won those games. I watched Cooper almost beat Frederick Douglass at the Lexington Catholic event, which would have been a big win for them. But Cooper, when their offense is rolling, which they're not a high-scoring team, but when it feels like when Cooper scores 70 to 75 points as a team, they've won the game because they win games usually scoring 73, 74. Now they're scoring 75. It's like a free win for them. And Andy Johnson needs to go to Rupp Arena. Last year it was Newport with Taylor and Kinney. And I will say this, like we talked about on last show, with Yamil Rondon at Newport, it makes them a whole new team. It makes them a different team. But I think it kind of depends on what version of Griffin Starks and James Turner you get. And those guys at times look like the two best bigs. They have the arguments to be the two best at their position in the state at times, but then we'll have a game where they're low scoring and the kind of game comes inconsistent at times. But I think they're still a great team. I think Newport can definitely return to Rupp. I think Lloyd Memorial can make it to Rupp. But right now, my favorite's Cooper just because they beat all those other teams we mentioned. And, man, it's going to be fun to see that region play out. Skipped one. That's 10th through 12th here. Danville Christian has the best defense in the state of Kentucky. The 12th region's not super strong. I think that's kind of Danville's locked up. It's there to lose, like I said, for St. X. 11th region is the strongest region in the state of Kentucky. It's between Great Crossing, Douglas, Madison Central, and Station. I think the experience Great Crossing has making it last year will push them over of winning it and making it to Rupp. But they got to let Malachi Moreno have the basketball. They got to let Malachi do his thing in region this year. And I think obviously losing Junius Burrell hurts their team a little bit. That's more age and experience. But since then, they've been playing good basketball. Vince Dawson's knocking down shots. He just hit 8 threes, which I think is the Great Crossing record. Someone had told me. So Great Crossing looks good right now. I think obviously when you have Malachi Moreno on your team, it's hard to lose basketball games if you use him right. And I think they're going to get him right and use him right in this postseason and win games with him. My 10th region is George Rogers Clark. I think it's theirs to lose. Montgomery County has got them in some battles at times this season, especially now that Caden Reed is back. It was an 8-point game in triple overtime. But George Rogers Clark, just be honest to you, it's hard to say anyone's going to be better than them. Josh Cook's their head coach. Josh has been there. So I think Josh Cook and GRC is finally going to be back to the state tournament, which will be a lot of fun. Here's what I like about George Rogers Clark. They got a lot of guys who can score the basketball. They score 70 as a team. They shoot very efficient as a team. They shoot 50, 35, and 70 from the fields. So Montez Gay is a 8-point, 15-point per game scorer. I like Montez Gay a lot. I like Malachi Ashford. I like Sam Spillman. It's just like you look on paper how good GRC is. They go 10 to 11 man deep, and Maddox Hager comes in. Maddox Hager comes in from Boyle County. He's another super athletic, great, high IQ sophomore. It makes them a whole different team at times. So I think GRC is the team to lose the 10th region, but I do think Montgomery County will give them another great battle with Caden Reed back. And then certainly last but not least, we look at the last graphic, and that's regions 13 through 16. Harlan County is the favorite, the 13th for me. Why? Because I think it's between 3. I think it's between Laurel, South and North Laurel, and then I think it's between Harlan County. Harlan County's been there. Harlan County's experienced this. Maddox Huff steps up and plays his best basketball when it's needed, and I think that's what he's going to do. But I also think right now, from behind looking at it, I think they're the best team. I know South Laurel's played a lot more region games. They got a better region look right now. I know Harlan has lost some district games that you want to see them win. I know they just lost to Bell County. I know they've lost to Bell County twice, which I think they should win that game. And, honestly, we can make a debate that Bell County could be the favorite. Bell County is 21-4 right now, and they've beat Harlan twice. So you could make a debate that Bell County needs more respect, and they could be higher. Ethan Buell, Blacks Burnett, that's a good team. Cameron Hall, I think that Bell County is a really good team. That 13th region is hard to pick, man, because I think Clay County looks really good at times. Pineville looks really good at times. But your top four is the Laurels, Harlan County, and Bell County. That's about as strong as the four as you can find. I'm not too sure. I like Harlan County there just because I do think Maddox Huff will step up and play his best basketball when it's needed. I think Reggie Cottrell will continue to play great basketball. And I think Brody Napier, Trenton Cole. Trenton Cole is a sophomore who's really been stepping up and playing great for them. But I do think J.C. Carter, Maddox Huff, Brody Napier, these guys that made it last year will step up and return, and I think they'll play their best basketball when it matters. 14th, it's Hazard, no questions. 15th region, it's a weaker region in the state of Kentucky. You can definitely make the debate that it's the weakest region in the state of Kentucky, but I still think Paintsville is the team to pull it out. I like Lawrence County. I like Martin County. And Pikeville, I feel like, has the talent to win that region with Jackson Keene and Enonkst. I think they have the talent to win that region, but I just got to see how it pans out, man, because I like Jackson Keene. I like Enonkst. I like E.B. Waters, but they're just not really winning the games that I want to see them win. It'll be definitely interesting to see because I think I think Paintsville right now is the best, look. They're 10-2 in the region. They're 15-5 overall, but I do think it will become between two teams, and I think that will be Paintsville and Martin County, and let that write its own story right there. I think Parker Watts and Martin County, Martin County actually just beat Paintsville a few days ago. It's going to come down to one of those teams. It's really going to come down to one of those teams. Martin County right now has beat Paintsville twice, so they kind of lead and edge it. But right now in RPI and things like that, Paintsville kind of leads. Paintsville looks like the favorite, but Martin County's beat them twice. It's hard to beat a really good team 3 times in a row, but Martin County has every bit of argument to be at 15. Martin County has every type of debate to be there at number 15 for the 15th region. I think Parker Watts is the best player in that region without a doubt. 27 and 10 type of player per game. But I think, like I said, Parker Watts, I think, will elevate his game and lead them to a third win if they play again in the postseason. Right now, Martin County has their record, so it could be Paintsville, it could be Martin County. Pick or choose there. 16th is Ashland Blazer. I know they just lost to Boyd County. They had also beat them, I think, was it twice beforehand? They had beat them beforehand. Boyd County's coming off a win against them. And I really like Boyd County as a team. Let me say that. I think Boyd County has, with Jacob Spurlock, you always got to count them in to win the game. But Ashland made it last year. I think Ashland's trip to Rupp last year was too short. I think they wanted to get by that Lyon County team. They debatably should have. There was a controversial foul call at the end of the game on Brady's shoulders. But I think Ashland has the talent. They have the age. They have the experience. They have the coach to make it back, and I think they're going to make it back. Their only real competition to me in that region is Boyd County. I know there's other good, fun teams in that region like a Lewis County or a Fleming County, but I do think the best team in that region is Ashland Blazer, and I think the best team will end up winning it. And Xander Carter, like I said, is probably number 2 in Mr. Basketball vote right now. He's playing out of his mind. He's playing great basketball. And those big-time names and those guys who have been there will win your region, will win your district. So that's my pick for every region right now. The ones that I'm not 100% on is 13th and 15th. I think 15th could easily be Martin County. I think 13th could be South Laurel. It just depends. It's either one of those two teams. We've talked about a little bit of everything, guys, today. We talked about our top 10 teams in the state of Kentucky. We talked about my favorites in each region, talked about the teams catching fire right now. We talked to our player of the week, which was Jake Feldhouse, who picked up his EKU offer, averaged 30 and 10 a game on a 2-1 record. But we talked about a little bit of everything this show, man. Catch us back soon. Not sure if we're going to go back to normal schedule and be back on here Sunday. I think we very likely will, just so we can get all of our guests back. We did a 3-guest show today with Jake Feldhouse, Jonathan Moss, and Jeriah Brown. We had all 3 great talks with all of them. Weird timing of a show at a late Thursday night, especially when many people are playing and got games. But we were able to kind of get this done. We were able to do our thing. We were able to talk to our guests. We were able to highlight a lot of topics, and I'm very proud of how this show went. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, like I said, on a kind of weird scheduled show, and we'll catch you again soon, likely this Sunday. but I don't want to make any promises just in case things pop up. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Everybody have a great rest of your night and finishing out this week. And God bless and catch us next time. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Joseph Decker 23, Next Up Recruits. Make sure to follow me on Facebook at Joseph Decker and hit us on Instagram at I am Joseph Decker and The Joe Show on IG. The Joe Show pages are available on every single social media. Same with myself and my personal account. So last but certainly not least, I want to thank our sponsors. B Spring Lumber, Charity Hall Bingo, Pelican Snowball, Barron Family Farm, Grable Funeral Home, CNA Plumbing, Exact Homes, and last but certainly not least, Deadman Law Injury Firm. They are our show sponsor. And then our biggest behind-the-scene plug, Ronald Scott Lindsay. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to today's show. We'll catch you next time.